Welcome, friends, to the flagship broadcast of the Scavenger podcast. My guest today could not better fit the kind of person that I seek to populate Scavenger's airwaves with. Her name is Fullmetal Magdalene. She's an artist that I find fascinating both for her art and for her philosophical and spiritual ideas. I look forward to hearing her thoughts on crypto art, cryptocurrency, freedom, and yes, even God. So, with no further ado, thanks for taking the time to talk, Fullmetal Magdalene.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, do you prefer to go by Full Metal, or do you prefer to go by Magdalene?
I hadn't really thought of it, but I guess usually when I shorten it, I just use Full Metal.
Oh,
So that'll work.
It does sound kind of cool. So, all right, the first thing I want to start with, right off the bat, is the crypto art. I'm hoping that you can explain how you got into crypto art to begin with, and also just what is the crypto culture like? I mean, you seem to be a part of it, and for those of us on the outside, don't really understand what's going on, and I would like if you could just explain it.
Okay. How I got into it. Well, that's a good question. I was drawing because I like to draw sexy girls, and then I love crypto. So naturally, I started drawing girls to represent kind of like the different personalities I saw for the different cryptos. But I didn't know, I had no involvement or knowledge of the crypto art scene or the NFT scene. And then I started sharing my artwork on Instagram and Twitter. And I had some crypto artists actually reach out to me and be like, hey, I really like your girls, and I think that you should start getting into crypto art and NFTs. So it was the community that had actually reached out to me.
Oh, wow. Which, did you have a female equivalent of Dogecoin?
I do, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, dang it. I didn't see that. I looked through all your stuff, and you're going to have to send me that when we're done talking.
Definitely.
I love the Dogecoin, man. So, okay. So the crypto culture now, so you were welcomed into their arms, basically. And I mean, there's more to it than just cryptocurrency. Obviously, you have this whole art thing going around it, but it seems to be even more than that. I mean, there seems to be a philosophical, political kind of bent to it all. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, could you explain to those of us who aren't immersed in it exactly what that means?
Well, there's a lot of different ideologies in it. So it's it's kind of more of like an open space where a lot of new ideas are being thrown out there. A lot of different projects are kind of putting their own spin on how we will do monetary things, but also government solutions as well. So I don't know. Like, there's just
okay. Let me jump on that if you don't mind. So, okay, how do you envision? I'm not asking you to speak for the whole country. Obviously, you're your own person, your own mind. But how do you see this decentralized world functioning in a practical way?
I guess at the moment I see it as an opportunity for anybody who has an idea or has a skill to get involved or to launch their own project or to put themselves out there in a way that hasn't been available because there's been so many gatekeepers on so many different industries.
Right. Okay, yeah, so you see it like culturally, you see it as being definitely transformative.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it almost seems like it's like the crypto community is trying to fulfill what was originally supposed to be the promise of the internet.
I lost you at the last couple words on that.
Oh, really? I said it seems like the crypto culture is trying to achieve what was originally envisioned as being the end result of the internet, which was this decentralized world where everybody could have a legitimate platform.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
Okay, so it's just kind of like the original internet dream taken to its fullest extent.
Yeah, because it kind of feels like the technology is finally meeting up to what we were hoping the internet would be, for sure.
Right. And so one thing that's interesting to me about all of this, because is something that I am very interested in and passionate about, but it does seem like recently, over the last couple of years, the media behemoths have kind of found a way to tighten their grip again. And I'm wondering, like, I mean, they're kind of, for example, YouTube is transitioning mostly to like I don't know what you call them, mainstream kind of legacy media figures. Does that concern you, or do you not think that that is going to work?
Like YouTube continuing to have kind of like this grasp on controlling the narrative.
Right, right. I mean, they're just one example, but in general, the internet seems to have tightened up a little bit over the last couple of years. I mean, with censorship on social media platforms and just all of it. It seems like they're making a move to get things back under control. And I'm wondering, does that concern you at all?
No, I think it's necessary for people to evolve into the crypto space. A lot of the people that end up getting banned off of these platforms have had to turn to alternatives that they might not have even thought to engage with otherwise.
Hmm.
So it just kind of seems like the natural progression. Like they're shooting themselves in the foot, basically, in my opinion.
By they, you mean the media outlets that are censoring and basically trying to go back to the legacy media kind of dinosaur way of doing things.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I hope so. And I think I saw a tweet, or maybe I asked you about this in a message, but you said a similar thing about how you felt like the cryptocurrency and everything that orbits around it was almost like inevitable, right?
Yeah, it's almost like it's more valid the more they try to fight it, because it is, it's the direct competition. It's the next step. And so if they weren't fighting it, I wouldn't necessarily think it was competition.
Right. Yeah, I just, I love your optimism, and I love the optimism of a lot of people in your space, but it's tough. It seems like, I mean, they manage to control everything else. Why won't they be able to put the kibosh on this?
I think there's more of us than them.
Yeah, you think that's simply it? You just think it's an idea whose time has come?
Yeah, like progression is the natural order of things. So I don't think that they'll be able to hold it back. I think it makes sense that they'll try, and it'll be a fight, but I don't think they'll win.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it. That was you that tweeted the other day that was something like the control grid is in its dying throes, and that makes them dangerous.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was a thought you put out, right?
Yeah, I think it was something about they're kind of like an animal backed in a corner, right?
Right, that's what it was. That's how you tweeted it.
Yeah, so it's like naturally, yeah, they're gonna fight. They're desperate.
Right. So why is it? And I'm hoping I'm not pushing too much of your technical understanding. But I don't understand, why is crypto so hard to control?
I'm sorry, the last couple words cut out again. I don't know why.
Huh? Why is crypto so hard to control?
Because it's not centralized. So it's harder to come in and shut it down or control it, because there's so many different factions to it.
Hmm. Yeah, I hear that, and I just don't understand exactly how that works. Like the whole thing is such a mystery to me. But anyway, so also speaking of mystery, you've made these tarot cards, right? Which I'm a big fan of. I think they're beautiful. Um, Before getting into the metaphysical aspects of them, I wanted to ask, how do you physically make those? with the moving parts in them. But what software do you use?
So for the tarot cards I've done, I actually was doing all of those on my phone at the time.
Really?
Yeah, so there I'm not sure, there was like a drawing program that just came with my smartphone, and I would draw them out, and then I used the app. It was called Pixaloop. I think it changed to Motion Leap, but just like a simple app out of the App Store.
You made those with just an app?
Uh-huh.
That's amazing. That's really cool. So, all right. And so sticking with the tarot, it's also, as an outsider and somebody who's interested in the occult and esoteric symbolism, um, there seems to be somewhat, at least somewhat of an overlap with some part of the crypto culture, with these esoteric symbols, occult, um, spiritual ideas. Is that something that you see in your experience is a regular part of the people who are into crypto, or is that just more of a niche thing?
Huh. I don't know. I haven't really noticed it myself in the crypto space. I had actually done it, just the first one I did was actually from Jordan Peterson. He did a call for submissions to find an illustrator for his follow-up to the 12 Rules for Life.
Hmm.
And it was based off of the Fool card. So that was how I started doing it.
Oh,
And
okay.
then that one got a lot of good responses, and that's kind of what pushed me to do a second one.
Okay.
So it actually wasn't from the crypto space for
Interesting.
me.
Okay. Yeah, while I was researching this and getting ready to talk with you, I found, you know, the higher side chats.
What was that?
Do you know the higher side chats?
Mm-mm.
It's a great just weirdness conspiracy podcast. He had a guy in there named Michael Joseph who talked for a whole hour about the overlap of the occult and crypto, and it was interesting. So yeah, I guess that's not actually that much of a thing, at least not for you. But you mentioned Jordan Peterson. One thing that I was curious about when we did the print interview that we did, you mentioned that you found the church structure to be too patriarchal, but you're also a Jordan Peterson fan. And Jordan Peterson, in some ways, is kind of like a defender, at least of the idea of patriarchy, not necessarily the way it's manifested in any specific situation, but the idea of like hierarchical structure. And I'm curious about that. Can you explain what Jordan Peterson means to you, and how that does not conflict with your feelings about the church being too patriarchal?
Sure. The church that I had gone to was just kind of like a one-off that I was invited to go through by one of their missionaries.
Okay.
So it was just kind of that one specifically. Um, I think that there's validity to hierarchy and, acknowledging competency within structures in society. And like, I don't know, when I found Jordan Peterson, it was at a time where I was like about 25 and I wasn't doing anything with my life. And I know that he kind of inspired a lot of people who were in a similar situation to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I did his self-authoring program,
Oh, really?
and which felt like, that's why when he had the submission for the Fool, it kind of felt reminiscent of that direct influence he had had in my life. Kind of like,
Oh.
Getting your shit together and having faith that it's going to work, because I hadn't really tried up to that point. I was just kind of going with the flow of life and didn't really have a plan. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh man, I'm not a kid anymore. And it was through that I always wanted to do something with my art, but I had never pursued it past a hobby. And so it was after I had done that self-authoring program that I really got determined to start drawing every day.
Wow, that's amazing. I bet Jordan Peterson would love to hear that. I've seen he says I don't know if he's actually taken data on this or if he's just making assumptions, but he said it was something like 90% of his audience is male. So you're the rare breed. You're the rare female Jordan Peterson fan.
Yeah, it makes sense that his crowd would be more male.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know many other ladies who are Jordan Peterson fans?
No.
No? Yeah, you see, it's interesting. Well, he has said that he thinks it's something just to do with I don't want to put words into Jordan Peterson's mouth, but he has talked about it, and basically what I got out of it, and maybe I'm misrepresenting Jordan, I hope not. What I got out of it was he was saying that males are generally more driven by the need for some kind of purpose, um, and that the present culture is not giving it to them. So he kind of thinks that he just popped up at a time when there were a whole bunch of lost young men, basically. And but clearly, you're evidence that it's not just young lost men. Correct?
Yeah, because I don't know. I would assume, because I also want purpose in life. I would assume that would be for both men and women, but also it's coming from a man's perspective. So, I mean, that's probably why it's more male, just because he's going to have that understanding. Because we have different, I guess men and women have different needs for fulfillment in life. I
That's
don't know
really
what exactly
interesting.
those differences are, though.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So, yeah, I don't want to. I want to ask why it was that you were lost before Jordan Peterson. Um, were
Ooh,
you
that's a good
just
question.
raised? Yeah, I mean, were you just raised in a situation where there was no kind of structure? Or I ask this. I hesitate because I don't want to pry too much into your personal life, but at the same time, I think it's interesting and important because you're one person of many who's going through this thing and experiencing this culture that we're experiencing right now that a lot of people are having problems in. So if you don't mind, I would be interested to hear your thoughts.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely lacked a good structure growing up. Um, I came from, like, my parents were divorced and they had a lot of arrested development. And then kind of like the main structure in our lives was the Mormon religion,
Oh,
which was all sorts of crazy.
so
And I would
did you
it's
grow up
definitely
like really believing in Mormonism?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, no worries. So I was definitely really into it when I was younger. And then I started noticing inconsistencies in the doctrine starting around 12 or 13. And I just couldn't get over the fact that I couldn't get any answers. And I was always just told to kind of just trust in my bishop and trust in, the church. And I'm like, well, if God's all knowing and you guys are the one true church, I feel like you should be able to give me a good answer.
Right.
And then I wasn't, my parents believed in it. And so I couldn't go to them and express how I felt. So I wasn't really getting any guidance besides like, just have faith.
Hmm. Were they also born and raised Mormons?
Yeah. So my family's pretty deep in the Mormon religion. I grew up, my dad was always really proud. Or his great grandma or great great grandma walked I was actually like the original pioneers that came in
Oh,
and settled Utah
wow. That's amazing.
with the Mormons. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So it was deeply ingrained. There was like no one in my family I could really talk to about my doubts in it.
Hmm. Have you spoken to them now that you have a broader view on these matters?
Mm, No,
No?
I'm pretty estranged from them all.
Oh, okay. So did they even know of the Fullmetal Magdalene moniker, personality, whatever?
No,
No?
no. I think my dad would be horrified.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Ugh.
probably particularly of the sexual and the weed aspects.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting that you come from a Mormon background because it loops back to something that you said to me in an email, that you wrote to me in an email. And so, um, Mormonism obviously was founded, was Joseph Smith was his name, right?
Hmm.
And he was visited by what he thought was an angel, and then he hatched the Mormon religion from that. And obviously, there are people who think it was legitimate, and there are people who think he was a con man. But there is actually a third possibility, which would be that he was authentically visited by otherworldly being, but that it was his interpretations of what that being said to him that were inaccurate. And that kind of loop, well, it doesn't kind of, it does loop back into what you wrote me about. It was a brief mention you made about when you read the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, the Gnostic Gospel. And could you just give me your thoughts on it? About, you made a comment about how receiving divine inspiration is then filtered through the ego.
Yeah, so I would assume Joseph Smith is a very like multi-dimensional person. So I think he could have been a con man, but also received divine inspiration at times.
Right.
Um, and so yeah, kind of my perspective on that, or with any when I hear anyone sharing information or any perspective or anything is like if I hear or I read something that rings true to me, I'll accept it as true, but I've learned to not just assume that that gives further validity to anything else necessarily that comes from that same like book or same person. So like because there are things in the Bible that ring true to me, but there are things in the Bible that don't ring true to me.
Right. Right. I'm sorry. I didn't know if you were done speaking. Okay. Yeah. That's pretty much how I see things as well. It's like the vessel can be imperfect, but that doesn't mean that they weren't given a legitimate message. Um, but okay, back to the crypto art. I'm curious this crypto culture, and it feels kind of weird even saying it because I'm sure most people in the crypto culture, it's like the hippies in the 60s. They don't think of themselves as hippies. It's just like the outsiders that look at them as a defined group when they're not really a defined group. But still, as an outsider looking at this stuff, I'm curious, do you think that the crypto art can and will outlive the crypto, I don't want to say fad because that is marginalizing it, or diminishing it, but the whatever this thing is that's happening right now, assuming that this doesn't last forever, and if crypto were to become the mainstay currency, I would assume that this kind of outsider niche culture would kind of evaporate. Do you think that the art can have lasting value as art, or is it too tied in specifically to crypto?
I mean, I think it will be up to the artists. Like, I think there will be artists that come out of it that will be lasting, right? But I don't think just because it's crypto art that it's going to be something that remains valuable or timeless or anything. It'll really be up to who's creating it and what they create and how important it is to people, how much they feel like it reflects the time and what's going on. Kind of like there were a lot of people that could paint, but Da Vinci, is more well known than a lot of the other people who were just as talented at the time.
Right. Or like the Grateful Dead have lived on as psychedelic music, but there were tons of psychedelic bands that nobody's ever even heard of. So
Definitely. And then like when psychedelics were like really big, like a lot of them were kind of popping, but not a lot of them had the lasting power as they did.
right. And a lot of them were smart enough to evolve and adapt with the times. The dead were actually an exception to that. The dead were just always the dead. Well, no, that's not true because they had Touch of Grey. But anyway, I digress. Okay, so the tarot cards, does that have anything to do in your mind or your artistic vision? Does that have anything to do with crypto? Because they're like this is the thing I'm confused about, because they seem to be crypto art or NFTs, but there's nothing in them that's actually about cryptocurrency, and I'm confused as to what that all means.
Like, have you seen a lot of crypto artists making tarot art?
No, you're the only one, but I'm also not super savvy on crypto.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Because I know that doing your own tarot deck, like from an artist perspective, is kind of like a common thing to do. But I don't know what would be the direct connection between tarot and like crypto art or crypto.
So when you made your tarot, I guess I should phrase the question better. When you made your tarot cards, you were not thinking of crypto.
No.
Okay. But those are still crypto art, right?
I mean, they are. I mean, as
I could be wrong. Full Metal, I could be wrong. Like I'm totally coming from the outside on this. So if I'm wrong, just tell me.
I mean, I'm going off of my own definition. I wouldn't call them crypto art, because when I think of like what I would call crypto art of my pieces, they're the ones that incorporate actual cryptocurrency
Okay.
culture and stuff. I don't know how other people would define it. I've seen people argue over the definition on Twitter, so I'll be clear that I'm just coming from my perspective. But I guess it is crypto art in the sense that it is minted on the blockchain as an NFT.
Okay. Okay. So it's like the technical aspect of how it's distributed, kind of, that makes it crypto art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm curious. There's a lot of tentacles and sea creatures in your art. What's that about?
Oh, okay, that's a good one. I don't remember the year, but I think it was like 6 or 7 years ago. I got the opportunity to go to the World Erotic Museum in Miami. And I've tried to look up the statue that I saw there, but I haven't actually been able to find it again. But it was this woman that was all caught up in these tentacles. This sculpture just really kind of made an impact on me at the time. And ever since then, I've just been kind of obsessed with tentacles.
That's very interesting. It's a really interesting thing to see repetitively come up in your artwork.
Yeah, at first it was kind of like, to me, I saw it and it kind of looked like almost like your inner demons grabbing at you or grabbing at her in the sculpture. And that's kind of where it started, but it's evolving past that to more of just like, I don't know, like the octopus going from like a big scary monster to almost like a companion or a friend.
Are you taking it there consciously, or that has just kind of evolved?
Not consciously, just kind of how it's flowing out.
It is. It's an interesting, what would you call it? Dichotomy, maybe, of having this, tentacled sea monsters with like erotic imagery of women. It's definitely, it's weird. It's like thought provoking. It's kind of paradoxical, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like it like in if you're like the shadow self, almost like making friends with that inner beast. And that's kind of, I kind of think that that's why it's gone from kind of like this daunting kind of imagery of like where it's like this thing that torments the girl to kind of like this kind of partner in crime almost.
Very cool. So she's like taming it.
Hmm.
I like that. So another recurring, well, I think this is recurring. But I don't know if it's the same character all the time, but there's a redheaded woman who comes up in a lot of your images. Is that a fictional representation of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I
Yeah.
figured it was. I just thought I would check.
Not every single redhead, but a good amount of them. Yeah.
So I've noticed that lately you've been, or well, yeah, you sent out a tweet that you were shutting down commissions because you had too much business.
Yeah, I've been things have been picking up quite a bit. I also sold out of all my stickers in my sticker shop as well. I wasn't expecting that either. It's been really good.
That's awesome. Do you print them yourself?
Yeah. I actually ended up getting a repetitive strain injury in my thumb and my wrist because I was cutting them all out by hand.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so now I'm looking into getting, I think it's called a silhouette or some sort of machine that's going to cut them out for me.
Well, that's cool. I've seen you've also gotten a couple commissioned works making like it looked like a logo for you made a logo and then there was a little commercial thing that I saw you make on BitChute. What was that? Like Captain
Oh,
Crypto or
the
something?
was it the Sugar Daddy one?
Yes, yes, that one.
Yeah, that one I wasn't commissioned for. That one I just did for fun. Um, but yeah, I had that logo was actually for my friend Kenzie who runs a channel called Crypto Culture. And like every time you've actually said it, I think of his channel.
Well, that's cool. And yeah, I think I actually saw an interaction with you and him. What's is he an artist or what's his angle on the crypto thing?
Um, he's as far as I see, he's a trader and an investor, and then he's got a whole community where he'll talk with other people who are in the scene, and they'll kind of talk about the culture behind different projects or what's kind of going on with the struggle between like the evolution of crypto and the government.
Hmm. So he's more into the like the hard aspects of it, like the currency aspects and the technological aspects.
Yeah, and like the price action.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, that's interesting. Um, so Doge, Doge seems interesting to me. Is it? Am I saying that right? Is it Doge?
Doge.
Doge. Doge. I always call it Doge because I like the dog. But and I've had people say Doge, and I said in my mind, you don't know what you're talking about. But are you feeling confident in the Doge?
Yeah, I love Doge. I think it's really cool because the whole theory behind Bitcoin and why a lot of Bitcoin people really feel like Bitcoin should be successful is because of the built-in scarcity. And so Doge wasn't ever supposed to be this great investment because there's just always more Doge being made. But because of the community and because people like it so much, it's going up.
Yeah,
And
that
so,
was my thought on it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, no worries. But I just like that because I've noticed that the Doge, I just like the energy of the Doge community. It seems like the most fun. It seems like nobody's taking it too seriously. So I'm happy to see the success that the community is getting.
I agree. Like I've been investing a long time, but Doge has been the most fun I've ever had. Like I love it, and I actually got into it because of you. So, well, not because of you, but I looked into it because of your advice, and I'm grateful for that because it's just been really fun and made some money. It's just yeah, it's been really cool. But I it doesn't make sense to me that Doge can actually become like a stable currency, but if it did, as you're saying about the scarcity thing, I don't think it would be like a overstatement to say that it would completely topple our concepts of value and of currency if Dogecoin actually became like a stable currency.
Oh, that would be great too, because I mean, it would be the underdog, right? So I love the underdog. But then if it did do that, that would mean that we were wrong, and so it would be some good insight for us to have.
It's just it's really weird because it's like you said, it's built entirely off of human enthusiasm. You know, like it's really really fascinating, and yeah, I don't know, I love it. I'm in it to the end, but I can't see how it can actually become a permanently state. Like I feel like eventually the energy is going to fizzle out, but if it did, that really would just upend all of our concepts of value in terms of economics, because there's no underlying value to it. It's fueled entirely by enthusiasm, right? I mean, unless I'm missing something.
No, it's all community, and then I mean it really makes me think. So the value just comes from if you like something or not.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that it sounds so simple, but as you said, that actually would and does challenge, if it lasts, it would and does challenge our entire concept of like what our economy is based on. It's really, really weird, and it's fascinating to watch it. Um, you got what does the Dogecoin girl look like?
She's so I took inspiration from the fact that Doge really started kind of blowing up on TikTok a
Okay.
little while ago. And so she's a little roller derby girl, and her t-shirt says TikTok famous on it. And she's got the little Dogecoin sitting in her, or the little Doge sitting in her lap.
Oh, that is cool. That is cool. I got to find that one. I want to see that one. Speaking of TikTok, I saw you defending Jake Paul the other day.
Defending.
Yeah, are you a Jake Paul fan?
I mean, no, but I'm not a hate, like I don't hate Jake Paul either. I think he's fine. I think he's just doing him, and I think the amount of hate is kind of a bit much. Like
Right.
I don't know. I don't think it's that unbelievable that he could train and fight.
Right. I mean, I agree. I'm a huge MMA fan, and I used to compete and train, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or not compete in MMA, compete in kickboxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but train in MMA. But I find the hate. I agree, it's just kind of ridiculous. I mean, I love MMA, I love the sport, but I don't see what that has to do with what Jake Paul's doing. I mean, it's a freak weird thing, and I don't see why people hate it so much. And I actually kind of find it kind of fascinating that people hate him so much. Um,
It makes me think of the Jordan Peterson reference to the lobsters,
how so?
where it's like it just seems like people hate on him because they feel like he shouldn't be successful because they don't like him as a person.
Right. No,
And
yeah,
it's like,
I can agree with that. What is it about him as I honestly, I know nothing about him except the fights. And what is it about him that people hate so much?
I mean, it would just be pure speculation on my end, but I assume it's just the fact that he is unapologetic. He doesn't care if people approve or disapprove of what he's doing. And we're definitely in a certain cultural environment where we're supposed to be susceptible to this public shaming, with cancel culture. And so when somebody's being successful, when they're not susceptible to that, people are like, well, that's not supposed to be how it works.
Hmm. You just made me a Jake Paul fan. I'm now a Jake Paul fan. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, I mean, I think you're probably right about that. But because I didn't know anything about him. I was like, well, for all I know, maybe he has done something that was horrible, you know. But what was interesting to me is that he gets hatred from people who I know for certain know no more about him than I do. Like these are people who don't know shit about him. but they just hate him, and it's really really weird. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, he hasn't done anything crazy bad. He's just, I mean, I think they don't like his arrogance.
Right. But I mean, I don't know. He found a way to become rich and famous using an app that was supposed to be some stupid throwaway app for kids. So I don't know. I feel like I gotta respect that at least a little bit.
Right.
But
And then instead of just riding on that forever, he's like, okay, I'm going to take this to the next level and I'm going to go do this other thing I want to do that's unrelated, which is fighting.
right. No, yeah, and that's the thing that I find interesting because a lot of people in the MMA community, they find it disrespectful that he's like I can kind of understand what they're saying from an emotional sense because you have these fighters who come up from nothing and they scrap their way all the way to the top and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They sacrifice so much for the sport, but to me it's just like yeah, but he happened to have a different lot in life. So he used the lot that he had to accomplish a goal in a different way. And I don't see why there's a reason to hate the guy.
Right. And he can't buy fighting skills. So if he's training and he's coming in and he's able to kick ass, he still earned it.
Right. Yeah, I know. And there's a lot of people saying like when he fought Nate Robinson, um, everybody's saying like Nate Robinson doesn't know how to box. Well, and it's clear that Nate Robinson doesn't know how to box, but he's still a world-class athlete. Like, I mean, he's not a guy that the average person could get in the ring and fight. I mean, Nate Robinson was a great basketball player, and he's an extremely athletic guy. And yeah, I don't know. He clearly didn't have any boxing skills, that's for sure. I watched that, but still, I mean, Jake Paul had to have been training a little bit to take that dude out. I mean, Nate Robinson's a very powerful human being, just purely athleticism.
Yeah. And like, I assume, like, of course, not like the best fighters probably aren't going to give any attention to Jake Paul in the beginning. So he's got to start with who will fight him.
Well, I saw this was crazy. He called out Nate Diaz, which that was like I'm taking it that you don't watch the sport much, but Nate Diaz is no fucking joke. That was like when I saw that, I was like, Jake Paul, I think you're getting too big for your britches, buddy. Like, I'm definitely not a hater, but Nate Diaz is a world-class fighter, tough as nails, and I think Jake Paul is biting off more than he can chew there. But still, I mean, I respect his balls or his courage or whatever. I mean,
Well, and like, I don't know, how old is he? Like early 20s, right?
yeah, I'm not sure either, but I think I watched a brief interview with him. I don't think he can be more than like 27, 28.
Yeah, because like I had a ton of confidence that was undeserved when I was younger, and I hadn't achieved hardly anything close to what Jake Paul has achieved. So
Right,
I can understand, and it's like, yeah, maybe he's got to get his ass whooped a few times, but it would be all part of the fighting journey.
right. Yeah, and that is another thing with guys like Jake Paul and other young fighters, especially young men. I mean, it's the same with women too, but it's like, dude, we were all cocky when we were 25. Like, but they happen to have a platform and are doing this in front of the whole world. But they're just being normal 25-year-olds, but they just happen to have a camera on
Yeah, totally.
them. Anyway, that's how I feel. But all right. So what projects do you have in the works right now, Full Metal?
Ooh, let me see if I can remember them all. So I just did a t-shirt design for a project called Octofi, and I think that we're going to be releasing it this weekend. Um, and then I'm doing a collaboration with another Bitcoin artist named Ipo Lindbergh, and it's the Bitcoin Senses. And I just found out that our first piece called The Taste of Bitcoin is going to be up for display and for purchase at the Bitcoin Miami conference in June.
Oh, sweet! Congratulations.
Thank you. And then I also just got picked up. I'm doing an 8-piece series with Trustworks and Adore called Orgasmic the orgasmic chakras. And so that's going to be coming out.
What is that one about? Could you expand on that a little bit?
I don't know how much I can share about the pieces I'm doing, but they're having a competition for other artists who can get involved. And there's $20,000 in prizes, and it's going to be split between 5 first place winners.
Sweet. When is that? When are they judging those?
I believe it starts on May 5th.
Cool. But okay, so I'm sorry, what else did you have in store?
I think that's it as far as projects with crypto companies and that stuff. Other than that, I'm just doing a lot of commissions for just people who reached out and asked.
That's cool. Where do you get most of your work from? The commissions, is it mostly logos for businesses?
It's people reaching out through Twitter, Instagram, Parlay.
What kind of projects are they usually asking you to do?
A lot of times it's people who are into crypto, who have like channels on YouTube, so they want a logo or they want like a profile picture done, or people who want sexy girls.
Just for their own private use, like you just draw for their own private use. They don't use it for like a publication or anything.
Yeah, I've only done a couple of those, but yeah, they'll have like a character they like, or they'll see something I've done and kind of want me to like blend a couple of pieces into like a specific type of girl.
Well, that is cool. You have found this niche. Are you feeling optimistic for the future?
Yeah, I'm almost having more success than I know what to do with. I'm learning just how much work I can get done, and it seems like every time I get used to the workload, it kind of there's like there's more and more. So I feel like I'm training to finally be like a professional artist.
Congratulations. That's sincerely, that's fantastic to hear. And how long ago was it that you did the future authoring?
I want to say like 2.5 years ago.
So in the span of just 2.5 years, you went from a lost, by your own words, kind of wandering young woman, and in just 2.5 years, you're building this business. That's pretty fucking awesome. That is awesome. Do you have any idea what the mountaintop is for you? I mean, just when you're thinking of where this is taking you, how do you envision the ideal culmination of the Fullmetal Magdalene story? You may not have an answer to this. I'm just curious.
I haven't really thought about it. I'm just kind of trying to go with the flow. Ultimately, what I'm hoping to get out of it is just it's connected me with a lot of really cool people already. And so I hope it continues to do that, as I really appreciate the connections I'm making with people. There's so many talented people, and it's interesting because I don't know them in my regular life, but I know them on the internet.
Right. And a lot of them probably have names such as Fullmetal Magdalene, right?
Yeah.
Like people that you know for a long time, you never find out their like actual birth name. Could be the way of the future. Who knows?
Yeah, what if the pendulum swings from like a lack of privacy back to like more privacy online? I don't know.
Yeah. Are you gonna ride the Fullmetal Magdalene moniker all the way? You're never gonna go to your natural name or birth name, however you want to say it?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna stick with this one.
All right, cool. Well, all right, before we wrap things up, is there anything else that you would like to direct people to check out that you have coming up?
Um, I guess I would just say to keep up to date with me. If you follow me on any social media platform, I'm on a lot of different ones. I'm going to be uploading a lot of new work in the future.
Okay, cool.
And
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. I didn't know you were going.
Oh, I don't know. I'm trying. I feel like I should have more. I should be more prepared.
It's all good. I mean, in the description, I'll put links to any place that you want links to. So, all right, awesome. Thank you very much for this time. It was an interesting conversation, and it's inspiring to me to hear. Sincerely, I mean this. It's inspiring to me to hear that you, in 2.5 years, gone from feeling lost and wandering to building a dream. That's pretty awesome. It's the kind of story that I'm honored to get out, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. I had a fun time chatting with you. And I'll make sure to send you over that Doge girl.
Oh, yeah, sweet. I would love to see that. All right. Thank you very much, Fullmetal Magdalene. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.